Oh no! All this time on Facebook and YouTube, they have been hearing me. Thanks, Carol, for letting me know. I think I figured it out, Electra. So anyway, those of you on Instagram heard me. Those of you on YouTube and Facebook didn't hear it. So all that drumming that I did on Facebook, y'all didn't hear it. Thanks, sis. Thanks for taking care of your little bro. So anyway, I take it there's sound now, Kara. Let me know. No sound on FB. Still, what is going on? No. Okay, now there should be sound now. Could you let me know again before I keep going? No sound on FB. All right. Check it now because there's usually like a 10-second delay. So I'll wait for someone to tell me if there is sound on FB. And oh, I was looking for my phone. Peace and blessings, my dear sister. Welcome. Once I get somebody got to tell me on Facebook or YouTube that I got sound, then I'll continue. And then you know what? I'm not gonna drum yet. I drummed before, and those of you on Facebook and YouTube missed it. So I drum before I end the broadcast. I just need someone to tell me there is a sound. Do we have sound on Facebook? This story is going to be told. See, this is what happens when you are trying to tell a story that maybe you're nervous to share, maybe you're afraid to share or shameful to share. Something will happen, and then yes, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we got sound on Facebook and YouTube. So apparently you guys will see about 10 minutes. Thank you, Carol. So about 10 minutes you missed. You missed the drumming. Some of you probably saw me show my drum, my sound therapist. And I will play the drum for you, and because I want to before I end the broadcast. That was Instagram, tell the people that was some great drumming. I was feeling it. So the story, so Instagram, while I just recap, just rock to actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because I feel a part of me that wants to get critical, be concerned, worried, but I trust the process. So I'm going to continue. So yes, we just finished what we call leaders gathering, which is part of Interplay. Interplay.org is where you can find out more information. I'm one of the certified leaders, and the gathering started on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, and ended today, August 1st, 2021. And I attended workshops as well as co-led workshops. And the common theme for me from the workshop is belonging, rejection, unbelonging, looking for where we belong. And also, one of the things that I know and to experience it in the gathering was listening to other people's story, different genders, different cultures, different traditions, just different. But yet, we're all, generally speaking, had this same narrative of feeling like we don't belong, feeling like something is missing, feeling like we're different. I know I did. So I'm telling my story, and it may resonate with you. And one of the stories I told in one of the workshop was when I was living in America, I started to learn more about African spirituality in America far more than I did in Nigeria or UK. Well, UK really didn't count because it's like that. In Nigeria, African spirituality was demonized. The Yoruba tradition, the Yoruba people's spirituality, Ifa, was demonized. We were taught that it was evil. So I didn't want nothing to do with it. In my mid-20s or so in America, people were talking about Ifa and Babalawo. I'm like, wait a minute. You know, same way people get confused about voodoo and they think, oh my God, that voodoo shit. You don't understand the magic of the universe. And that's, as a matter of fact, it's because some people really understand it. They understood it. They try to demonize it, and then they pass that story on. So we end up being afraid of our own culture, our own spirituality. And if you're afraid of your culture, if you're afraid of your spirituality, you become afraid of who you are. And that is the quickest way from disconnection, because you're disconnected from yourself. And there are people reclaiming that. So anyway, I shared a story that when I was in America, that's when I started to learn more about African spirituality. And there was a part of me that felt shame, because as a Nigerian man, I was born in UK, my parents are Nigerian. I felt shame that I didn't have a lot to share, that I felt like I didn't know much, other than the fact that what I learned was it was evil. And I was beginning to realize that it wasn't, that there's more to it. And I would be ashamed and worried and concerned that I didn't want people to ask me questions because I won't be able to answer. And oh my God, I'm going to be embarrassed. And then my Nigerian folks didn't want to talk about it. So I'm in America learning about my own culture in a foreign land, feeling shame and guilt. But it was hard to really have a conversation with my people about it because they think it's evil. So I'm in between, like, oh my God, where do I fit in? And this is an ongoing thing. I mean, not the story I just shared, but the whole thing of messy stories, not knowing where you belong, where I belong, struggling to belong, struggling to find what's my purpose? Why am I here? What is life about? There was a certain kind of clarity I got in this leaders gathering, that I feel the clarity is more of a embodied clarity. I already knew that our stories matters, whether it's a positive story, a negative story. And it's not a story, from my perspective, you're telling a story over and over and over and how sad it is and how horrible it is. And this, you've been telling that for years, then you're not learning from your own story. But if you're listening to your own story, and you tell the story, you share your experience of things that happened, and you share what you've learned from it, that's becoming a conscious participant of life, where you're consciously making the invisible visible. That's the call, to make the invisible visible. When I shared my story, there's something about speaking your truth. When I shared my story, in that moment, I felt I could almost see my ancestors like standing behind me, and they had a smile on their faces. There was a sort of pride that I was sensing, like you spoke the truth that wanted to be spoken. Now, sometimes what the truth that needs to be spoken, you may not feel like it's the truth. You may feel like, oh my God, oh, people are going to judge me if I share this story. I know you know this, so I want to echo what you know. When you're in a community where everybody's about, I don't want to say about love because that kind of sounds, but it is really love. But I'm talking about matured love, where people are about compassion, understanding, empathy, truth, growing and healing and transformation. When you share the story you're embarrassed about, ashamed about, what you gain is yourself. You gain yourself. So as I shared my story of not feeling like I was Yoruba enough to talk about Ifa tradition in America, and feeling like my people, Nigerians, didn't want to talk about Ifa tradition. And I'm thinking, so what is wrong with me? But I want to know more. And judging myself as a Nigerian who didn't really know about my culture that is setting other people free. Once I expressed that truth, I just felt this invisible strength, a smile, like my ancestors were applauding me for speaking the truth that I need to speak, so that I could be set free. They say the truth will set you free, but first of all, it will piss you off. This truth didn't piss me off. It made me, well, by the time I told the story, I was in a better place, but it's a journey. What is the messy truth that you need to speak today? What is the truth that you're afraid of? What story do you need to restory so that you can restore yourself? When you restory yourself, you restore yourself. Restoring is looking at your own journey and recognizing that there really was nothing wrong. You were not broken. There's nothing wrong. Trauma is universal. Everybody has been traumatized in one way or the other. Everybody. And just because everybody has been traumatized doesn't make your trauma less important. And you must be careful to not identify who you are by the trauma that you've gone through, by the stories you can't be with. So when you're able, however you do it, through meditation, spiritual practice, whatever you need to do, reading, journaling, laughing, crying, interplaying, it is important to restore your story so that you can be restored. And in your freedom, you recognize every one of us, almost every one of us, if not all of us, are dealing with this. Where do I belong? Where do I belong? I'm looking for my tribe. I found my tribe. I'm willing to bet you when you find your tribe, you may think everyone is just like you. They're not. They've just had similar experience. They view the world close, almost like you see it. So you feel like you found your tribe. If you end up roommating with one of your people in your tribe, you may see another side of them that will catch you by surprise. Because in our connection, in our relationship, we get to know one another. So here's the thing. You will never, ever be like somebody else. Because one of the powerful things that we are told is that we are unique, that there's nobody else like us, that our fingerprints are unique. Your experience, your life, you are unique. So if I'm unique, you're unique, there is no one else like me, but yet I feel like I don't belong. Belong to who? Somebody like me? There isn't. So the only one I need to belong to is me. And when I belong to me, I belong to you. And when I find myself in spaces where I feel like I don't belong, that's part of life. There's nothing wrong. It's a contrast to help me see who I am. What is your story? What story are you carrying? What trauma are you carrying? And what you went through ain't no accident. You ain't less than. You ain't less than nobody. You ain't better than nobody. You are. You are. You are the place. You are the space where the divine gets to represent itself. Spend some time to be still. Take a deep breath. Connect to your body. And notice what you notice. See what's happening in your body. Are you triggered? Are you joyful? Are you sad? Are you depressed? What sensation? What are you feeling? Are you tense? Are you feeling ease? Whatever you notice, don't judge it. Because the minute you judge it, you embody it. You send it back into your cells while it's trying to be released. The feelings and emotions are looking for an outlet. Love is looking for an outlet. You are looking for an outlet. So bring your messy story. Bring your shame story. You ain't the only one. You ain't the only one. Don't be fooled. You look on social media and people look like they're doing great things. And some are. And some of the people that are doing great things, when you meet them in person, they'll be like, girl, I'm doing what I'm doing and I love it. It's great. But My life is a mess. But you, if you're thinking your story is worse, nobody like you blah blah blah. You know those stories. And you look at somebody else's story on social media and you go, wow, they're doing so much better than me. I wish I have what they have. No. When you see someone's light shining, when you see their light shining, I mean, really shining, not because of what they're saying, but you can feel their truth. You feel it in your body is because they've allowed something to burn. You can't have light without anything burning. Something has to burn. So you got to bring all the stories, the judgment, the criticism, the comparison, bring them to the light and learn to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You have a story. We have a story. What is your story? Let's hear what the drum has to say, because I am getting ready to release this conversation. I don't often, very rarely do I do a live with my drum, only if I'm doing a workshop. But as part of my new story, as part of restoring myself and restoring my life, like, yeah, I'll start with my sound therapist. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Carol, Ashley, Carol, Big Sis, Electra, my dear sister. Is it Amal? I think it's Amal. Listen to the drum. Listen to the rhythm in your heart. It would always guide you, always direct you. In the midst of the craziness, spend more time. Listen to the rhythm of your heart. So when you look out in the world and see what's going on, you bring your sound and you align it with the universal sound. And you create a new reality. Hey, Gabriele. So there's nothing going on in the world that you really need to overly concern yourself with. If there's anything you need to be concerned with, get so caught up in understanding yourself, self-awareness, knowing who you are, why you are, and let the world hear your song. You will change shit. You would change the political system. You would change the educational system. You would change. You will change. You will heal your ancestors. You will heal yourself. You will heal your family members. You will heal the past in the present moment. There is nothing that has ever happened that cannot be healed. There is nothing that has ever happened that cannot be healed. The quickest way to heal the past and the present is to open yourself up to grieve. To grieve the past, to grieve the pain, to grieve the struggles of your ancestors, to grieve the dreams that never had an outlet. And as you make space for it in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit, the grieving transforms the heaviness, the negative energy. And your grieving becomes the fire of transformation. And you create a new story. And as you restore yourself, as you restore your life, You restore yourself. And as a future ancestors, you've now created a new pattern for those who are coming behind you. Gabriele, yes, indeed, my dear sister, you are a healing change agent. We are. Don't be afraid. And if you're afraid, grieve the part of you that is afraid. If you're fearful, grieve the part of you that is fearful. If you don't know how, if the part of you feeling like, I don't know how, grieve that. Grieve it by making space for it, calling it closer to you. Get sage, get Palo Santo, get whatever. Go in nature and call it forth. That a part of me that's afraid to move forward, the part of me that's afraid to start a new business, the part of me that's afraid to go into this new class, the part of me that's afraid to create it, the part of me that's afraid to die, I call you forth right now. I don't have to know the solution. I just make space for you to be seen. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being part of this. Whatever you got from this, I invite you to take it, multiply it, share it. Speaking of sharing, like this broadcast, share it, send me a question. Maybe you had a thought and you're like, well, I don't think you finished that thought. I think you should say more about that. Or maybe you say, well, I disagree. I'll welcome your disagreement because it really doesn't matter. We can have both and. It doesn't have to be either or. We are all a diverse expression of the divine. Ooh, there's so much more to say about that. I have on my t-shirt, Black King. If I do this, you may not read it well. But if I do it that way, you can see it. So what I'm going to say as I sign out, I love you, I bless you, I appreciate you, and I thank God for you. And I am your Black King. Thank you for being here. Go forth and multiply the consciousness. Be the light. Be the truth. Be the compassionate one. And remember, all those spiritual practices, all the spiritual principles come alive when you allow them to come alive in you. I'm out.